Welcome to the Bella Vista Gardening Program. I'm Geri Hoerner, and with me today is Dawn Denton. She's a fellow Benton County Master Gardener. She's also a landscape design artist. She does artistic things with plants, and she owns the Gardening by You and Me, and also is children's book author. She's very talented. And today we're going to be talking about her design concept, designing your garden from the inside out. And it's just a different way of looking at your garden and designing. And we'll also be discussing what you need to do in your garden in August. And we'll talk about that a little later. Other than watering, you know, there's a few things we have to attend to. And there's not very many upcoming events going on right now in August. Things have really slowed down with seminars and sales and things. So, but the Benton County Fair is being held August 15th, starts on Wednesday the 15th, runs through Sunday the 19th. And this is the time when the Master Gardeners set up their sign-up sheets for the Master Gardener program, the training sessions in January. And their theme this year is Gardening on the Grow. So they're trying to grow the Master Gardener program. In fact, Benton County is going to be the chairman, the host of the 2013 State Master Gardener meeting. So we're trying to get a few more Master Gardeners. So you can sign up at the fair if you want to become a Master Gardener. You don't have to be knowledgeable in every area of gardening. It's a good place to learn. Everybody has their own little niche of what they do in gardening. And so it's just a great place to learn and share your gardening knowledge with the community. So Dawn really has a wonderful concept of gardening, but she's also a wonderful author of children's garden books that are just great little books.
Thank you, Geri.
So if you can tell us a little about your books.
I'm actually writing a series called Guest in the Garden. And the books are written to teach kids some gardening facts about the critters in the garden, and then also some life lessons. The first book I wrote is called Ruby and Rocket, and it's a story about a brother and sister hummingbird that are in the backyard, and the kids will learn a little bit about backyard plants, hummingbird facts, and then there's a life lesson in each one. The second book is Oliver the Toad. And Oliver is in a veggie garden, and he is going to learn some things about responsibility. He's going to learn some things about the veggies, and then the kids will also learn some facts about toads. And then Betsy the Bumblebee, she's my first book that came out this year. She's not my first book, she's my third book, but she just came out in April, and she's in a wildflower garden, and she discovers some facts about the wildflowers themselves, but the main thing that she learns is the wonderful thing about being a bumblebee. So that's the 3 books, and you can pick those up anywhere books are sold.
Oh, good. They're available all over.
Right.
And then you have a website you can go to
correct.
also, and we'll be showing that website on the bottom of your screen. So got to look for her website. I just bought a couple sets for great-grandchildren. They're just great books for the kids. So, but your concept though of gardening, I know you did a program at the Bella Vista Garden Club, and it was about gardening from the inside out, which is a whole different way of looking at your garden.
Right.
And
well, we spend a lot of time, Geri, if you really think about it, we spend a lot of time inside of our homes looking outside, especially right now. I don't know of very many people that are enjoying being outside in these triple
all
digits.
you're looking is at the hose and the dead plants.
That's right
now.
And it's usually early in the morning or in the evening, but during the day we find ourselves inside, and we find ourselves looking out windows. And so as a designer, I started thinking about that from my own home, and I thought, I think we need to start focusing on making sure that our views from the inside out are pleasant. And so I've actually put together a PowerPoint presentation that I will be sharing with you all today.
Well, I know when you talked about it too, in the wintertime, we're sitting there looking out too. So that's another,
That's correct.
Time of the year we're just not out in our
Cold and
garden.
hot. If you were to count up the times in the year that we are outside that are pleasant to enjoy, you're going to think about a little bit towards the end of March, April, May, and then it starts getting warm, June, July, August, sometimes to the middle of September.
Right.
So right now it's just hot. It's hot outside and it's too hot to be outside.
Right.
So we're inside looking out. And if we think about the fact that we're in a home or even a business, I mean, I think sometimes we forget that even where we work, we can do something for the view that would maybe be helpful for that. So we're inside and we're looking outside, and these are a couple of pictures. Actually, the picture of the greenhouse is in my yard a few years ago from a bathroom window. The picture on the other side is a picture from my office window. So these were the two windows that I started working on. It sounds funny to work on a bathroom window first, but it's a big window and it looks into our bedroom. So it's a pretty visible area. And so I started looking at that thinking, well, what are the views? What does the view look like? And can we see any of our garden? A lot of times what happens, Geri, and you've seen it as a gardener and probably even experienced it a little bit like me, we plant for curbside appeal.
Right.
So we go out and we put our landscape together for those drive-bys, the people that drive by at.
And that's where most of our money goes, is that landscape design in front of your house, around your foundation.
And we often hear curbside appeal. If you were to put your house on the market, that's one of the things realtors look at is curbside appeal. But the question is, what if we only plant for curbside appeal, when we're inside and we're looking at our landscape, we can't even see it.
You can't see it.
No. It's, unless we're maybe a two-story house and we can kind of look down a little bit. So have we designed our gardens for this point of view? And this is a perfect time of the year. A lot of people think, well, I can't really do anything with my garden right now. It's too hot. I'm just trying to keep it alive.
Right.
But now's a good time to study those views.
You can evaluate your garden now and see what you need to change in the fall. That's the main thing.
We're just a few weeks away, thank goodness, from the opportunity to be able to plant. And so now's the time, hey, let's take some time to look.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of pictures that show an example. In all fairness, the one that has the tarp, that would be out my bedroom window when I first started thinking this concept, right by my bedside table.
It's not something you want to get up and look at every day.
Matter of fact, I keep the blinds closed a lot because of that.
Right.
And so that was a pile of wood that had a tarp over it. The other view is a friend's house that whenever I started thinking about this concept, I immediately thought of my friend Pam's house and how every window had a view.
Right.
And so I went over and took a few photos, and it makes a difference. It's a big difference.
Well, I know sometimes realtors don't think about that too, because when you're selling a home and you look out a window and you see a beautiful view, that enhances the home too.
Sure.
So it enhances it for everyone.
So those are actual pictures of windows with a view and without a view. And so let's just look at that one more time, and I'll use that same concept of the tarp and then another view from my friend Pam's house. And so it makes not just a little difference, but a big difference. The picture with the tarp, that is not a piece of artwork that I would hang on the wall to look at. But the picture that has the statuary with the herb garden around it actually would be something that would be pretty.
And as gardeners, when you see that tarp, you just think about all the things you have to do.
Exactly.
And when you look out and see that finished garden, it's like you see your accomplishments.
That's right.
It gives you a whole different feeling when you look out that window.
It does. And
I think
it can make you excited about future things. You're constantly looking at that view.
Yes.
So here's a question, actually 4 questions. What can be done about your views? When can it be done? Where can it be done and how can it be done? Can you tell I used to teach school? That's
Right.
like the four famous questions. What,
right.
when, where, how?
Yeah.
So let's talk about the first one, what can be done? Well, a lot of times it can be something as simple as planting a vine or something that would cover.
And just soften the look.
That's right. This was a view out my office window. It was just the deck. We have a 2-story deck, and it was just the deck post.
A lot of people have that view.
Exactly. They have a wood structure that could be softened with a simple thing of just planting a vine, which changed the entire look.
Just
of
softens everything.
This is a window that is coming up to my front door, and I even looked at that window because that window is a window that I go in and out a lot, in and out my front door. And so I looked at that window, and at first, just imagine that without the little bee skeep thing that's hanging there and the pots. It was just grass. That's all I saw, grass in the road. And so I decided to position some containers right on my sidewalk. And I've had a few people ask me, why are these containers right here? Because it might not make a lot of sense
From outside.
from outside.
Right.
But it's that inside-out view that I was looking at. So it can be simple things like that. When can it be done? It can be done morning, noon, and night. You can actually look at your views even in the evening. And that's where I've positioned some solar lights. There's a window that I look out quite a bit in the evening when we're sitting watching TV or reading. And I thought, that's a perfect place for those different changing colored solar lights. And so I positioned those. So evening works, morning, midday, and you can do it any season, winter, spring, summer, fall. You can look at those views and say, okay, it's wintertime.
But you could put some evergreens out.
Evergreens,
And then they
even
give it color.
statuary.
And statuary. Yeah.
A lot of people don't think about that, but when you're inside in the winter, people, they say they get cabin fever. Well, just imagine if your window views were enjoyable. It might not be as bad to stay inside so much.
Wouldn't
I'm
look so
actually
barren.
looking forward to winter views.
Yes, I think we all are looking forward to winter this year.
So, and where can it be done? You know, it can be done on a grand scale in a backyard. This is one of our Benton County Master Gardeners, Beth Strickland's backyard, and that view, she said she can't really see that from her
No,
house.
it's up the hill, but you know, once you come out of the house, you can see it. But
Right.
it's a shame she can't see it from a window.
Exactly, and I think
Yeah.
she even thought about what could I do to make that dining room view a little bit different.
Right.
So this is on a big scale, and so if you have the time and the resources, you can do something on a big scale and really create a wonderful, wonderful view. Or it can be something as simple as, like what I talked about earlier, just some containers. A lot of people have not a lot of garden. Some people live in an apartment.
Right.
Some people live in a small duplex
condo
or
or
a
something.
condo. So, but they still have a window view. And for those people that don't have that treetop view, you might want to think about, okay, what could I do here that would be on a small scale, something easy to take care of. Some people are busy.
Oh, yeah.
Or they're senior citizens, or they're
Working
mothers.
all the time.
That's right, mothers of small children. They don't have time to run all over the place, taking care of a big, grandiose garden. And so you position some containers. Let me just make a side note here. That window view that I showed you with the tarp, there wasn't a lot I could do with that. That's the utility side of the house.
Right.
I have cable. I have the electric running there. We have a water line thing there. I thought, I really can't dig and put a bed here. There's also a compost area and our wood stack area. And so what I did is I purchased some urns and I planted hydrangeas in those urns. And then I positioned those urns right by my window on a little stepping stone. So now when
So
I
it blocks
look
the
out
whole view.
blocks the whole view, and what I see when I wake up in the morning or when I go to bed at night is I see those hydrangeas right at the window height.
And I have seen several gardens on garden tours lately. They've had hydrangeas in the pots
Yes.
instead of in the ground. And I was really amazed how big they got. You know,
Yeah.
they were just huge.
You got to be sure your container
You got a
is
large
the right
container, but they're
size.
wonderful.
So how can it be done? Well, it can be done on a big scale like we just talked about. It can also be done at the beginning. What I found out from Pam was that they actually thought about this when they were building their home. This was done at the very beginning. So if people are in new construction, or if they're in the process of purchasing a home that has no landscape, you could actually, at the very beginning, do that. It can also be done afterwards. So this is another view. I showed you the inside view of the statuary with the herb garden, and this is the outside view looking back at that. And it was in a courtyard. So you can do beds in the ground, you can do beds above the ground, you can do containers. There's lots of different ways. There's a few more views. Gardening with a view in mind. And I love the fact that she even went as far as to think about the little fairy gardening that they're doing now. She doesn't really have a fairy garden, but she purchased, you can see the little door and the windows on the base of the tree.
Oh, yeah.
And that is actually from her living room window. So you look out at this beautiful, lovely bed with hydrangeas and ferns, and you see
And they
that
have that whimsical little thing.
whimsical
Yeah.
touch. So
Makes you smile.
it sure does.
Does.
It's a great addition.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's planned, and sometimes it's not. This is
Yeah.
actually out my kitchen window, and you can see the blue pots that I positioned for the view from the front door. But then when I was sitting at the kitchen table, I looked out, and lo and behold, I had accidentally put a pot of penta, a little container of penta that I could see from my kitchen table.
Oh, that's nice.
So it makes it just a whole different feeling as opposed to just looking out
They
at
had concrete and lawn
and fencing. A lot of
under
times
street.
people have those
Yeah.
privacy fences.
Yes.
So this is a great little quote. Take the time to think it through. It does take time. This doesn't happen quickly. It takes resources. Then you take the time to make a plan. So maybe your resources can only allow you to do one window view a year. I would say start with the window you look out the most. A lot of people have a window in front of their kitchen sink.
And you're
as
there a
women,
lot,
We're
right?
there a lot.
That's
And
right.
so we need to look at that window view and say, what does that look like? And what could I do to make that just a little more enjoyable for me?
Right.
And then make sure you take the time to see it happen, because a lot of people think about it now when we have the time, or we think about we're going to do that in the future, and then life gets busy
And they forget about
and
it.
we forget about
Yeah,
it.
they
And
don't.
so my encouragement to the viewers would be to really think about your views and try to start at least with one window. Here's some tips that you can take with you. Take a picture of the view of your window from each season. So let's say that kitchen window with the sink, you could take a picture now, and then in the fall, and then in the winter, and then in the spring, and then make a decision on what you're going to do. So you might want to look at that view.
It could be long-range plans, too.
Long-range
It doesn't have
plans,
to be something
sure.
you could do overnight.
Sure.
So,
Remember to add native plants, because those native plants, number one, they're hanging in there through the drought for the
most of them
part.
are. Most of them are.
There's a few looking sad, but they're the ones that surprise us and come back.
Right.
They also have a tendency to attract wildlife. And what a wonderful thing to sit at your window or to look out your window and to see the hummingbirds.
Are the butterflies flying?
Oh
Yes,
yeah,
they're
so
wonderful.
many of the black
Black swallowtail.
swallowtail are at my pots with the lantana in them. And it's lovely to watch them from inside in the
Right.
air conditioning. Your view can be enhanced using art, so don't think of, sometimes it's not a plant. It's actually a statuary or some kind of a neat yard art that would really
Right.
make a difference. Think of your window views. This is probably the best advice I can give as a designer, is to think of that window as a piece of art hanging on your wall. And use some colors that are inside that room to the outside, so it really looks like
It all blends together.
it all blends
It
together.
all blends.
Remember, inside and outside are one package that you've paid for. And so hopefully that will be some things that people can really use. And then this is a great quote. Mary Engelbright uses this a lot, but sometimes what we have to have is just a different view and a new set of eyes. And so the real voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes.
Right.
And so hopefully this will be something that will encourage
Looking
the
at them
viewers.
differently, yes. And I know you did this program at the Garden Club meeting, and fortunately I went home and looked out each of my windows, and I have a view out of every window.
Isn't that great?
But it just happens that my landscape is planned with raised beds all around my house. So, and I do have in the middle of the lawn in the front, I have some plantings instead of just lawn and rock and street. So I was just so excited when I went home and I looked out every window and I saw,
that's
you know,
great, isn't that great?
some vegetation out each window.
You know, the wonderful thing, I have a friend who just purchased a home in Fayetteville. She has a skinny side yard, and her kitchen sink looks right out at a privacy fence. And we were talking about it. I mean, it's literally like maybe 8 feet from her kitchen window to the privacy fence. And she was asking me, what do you think I should do? And I just encouraged her to go to Hobby Lobby or Big Lots or someplace and find a really great piece of fence art, something you could hang on that.
You could do birdhouses or
birdhouse,
anything like that.
and
too.
that she could actually enjoy looking
And vines
instead of
going
just
up the fence. So you just think about your view. It's a whole different concept, but it's a wonderful idea.
Thank
and
you.
it really makes you feel good when you look out and see all that greenery and you know, the plantings and the art and enjoy it. That's one of the problems I think with gardeners. We spend so much time gardening and then we don't enjoy it. We're sitting inside and we're, you know, not enjoying our efforts.
Right.
So this way we can enjoy it from the inside even when the weather's bad. So. Well, thank you so much. It's a great presentation.
Thank you.
And we need to talk about what to do in your garden in August. And talking to you the other day, we talked about the problems we're having. I'm having, of course, deer and grasshoppers.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm having moles, and I'm having armadillos,
Oh, yeah.
and, you know, the drought. So it's just an uphill battle. But the grasshoppers have just been horrible this year.
Let me tell you what happened, Geri. I stopped at Nitron in Johnson, which is down by Fayetteville,
Right.
and they carry a lot of organic products, which I know that's a big push right now, is to be more chemical free.
Right.
So I walked in, and the gentleman, all I said was grasshoppers, and he kind of chuckled. And he said, we just had a big conversation about that. He said, let me get you some grasshopper bait. And it's called Semaspore. And I'll spell that just so people might want to look it up. It's Semaspore, Semaspore. And it's a grasshopper bait that it's got a bran, like a wheat bran, a wheat germ kind of thing, molasses, and then it has an ingredient. The active ingredient is Nosema lactose, and it is a protein, I think, based that the grasshoppers eat the wheat bran.
Well, the molasses is going to attract them.
The molasses, he said it's like throwing cake out
Right.
on the ground for them.
Okay.
And what it says here is it says in 2 to 4 weeks, 50% of the grasshopper population will die. 50%, that'd be pretty great.
That'd be great because there's thousands of them out
And
there.
most of the survivors then will be infected to continue spreading the disease, and infected survivors eat 75% less than a healthy grasshopper, so they're not eating as much.
That's good.
And they lay fewer eggs. And the great thing, the reason I called this company, they're up in Montana, and I called them and I asked about my cat being eaten, because my cat is catching the grasshoppers.
Right, I've seen that.
And eating them. So I was concerned, is this going to hurt my cat? And he said it doesn't hurt any human or pet. It's
Right.
just about the grasshoppers.
I was on the golf course the other day and we saw these little, about quarter-inch things just hopping around, and it was thousands of grasshoppers. Now, if we kill half the population, I don't think they're going to be extinct.
No.
So I don't think we have to worry about making them extinct. But we really need to control them. They're just eating everything in our
Yeah.
garden. So, but the annuals and herbs, the ones the grasshoppers haven't eaten, some of them are just so bad. I've just taken them out of my garden. I just, there's no sense watering anymore. They're just gone.
Yeah.
And if the ones that are left, you just need to deadhead and pinch back. And with your herbs, you might try to make some oils or vinegars with your herbs, or harvest your basil for pesto. The basil's doing pretty good in this heat. So, and the perennials, your mums are probably setting blooms.
They're setting blooms, and a lot of them are blooming. And I actually cut my coneflowers and my daisies in half the other day to try to get them ready to do something in September.
And they don't have to support so much green foliage, so it's good just to
Make sure
cut
they're
things
watered,
back and
you
just
know.
water. The lawns, they have to have at least 1 inch a week, and you don't want to fertilize. You don't want to fertilize during August, and just raise your mower, raise it up a little bit. So like I said, it keeps it a little cooler.
And then the roses, I've got, of course, the knockout roses.
They just keep going
They
and going.
just keep going.
Right.
But if you have those hybrid roses, those special roses, the last feeding should be done this month.
Right. I would wait a little bit, till it cools off a little bit. And you have to be sure that your roses are watered
Yes.
well before you feed them, so that the roots have some
And then
moisture.
the fungus is
Yeah.
starting on
Right.
some of them, so we want to be sure and control
But the
that.
Japanese beetles haven't been as bad this year.
No, and I
So.
actually heard that it was because of the hot summer last year. So
Right.
that's good for us.
That's good for us. I haven't seen nearly as many Japanese beetles. But if they're here, if you have them, they'll probably be here to about mid-August. But they're just not in the numbers we used to have.
No, not at all.
And of course, the trees and shrubs, you have to check for scale and bagworms. Check those little cocoons. If you have bagworms, you have to take them off, put them in a bucket and burn them. You can't just throw them in the trash, but they need to be destroyed.
And then I've been doing a deep watering.
Right.
And when I just take the hose and I barely turn it on.
Right. Just let it drip into those roots.
Into the roots, especially the bigger shrubs and the bigger trees.
Yeah. Now, Janet Carson said, you can either pay for the water now, or you can pay someone $1,500 to take that dead tree out of
And
off your
replace it.
property and try to replace, a huge tree. It's impossible. So it's expensive to water, but the alternative is not good. So,
And I'm thankful we live in an area that we still have water.
we still have water.
As opposed
They
to
haven't
those areas
rationed
that are
it
not
yet.
rationed,
Yeah.
right.
Now the vegetables, the tomatoes have not been producing because it's too hot to set the blooms. It's too hot to set the fruit. You can maybe start your fall planting later this month when it cools off
Yeah.
with cabbage, beets, collards, spinach or turnips. But it's just so hot now, nothing's going to come
No,
up.
I planted some Swiss chard so that I could have some coming up in early September, have it ready. It didn't even germinate.
It's not even
It's just
thinking
really-
about coming
no.
up. So it just has not been a good year for gardeners as far as vegetables. But if you have any other questions about gardening in August, remember the Master Gardener has the hotline, and it's available Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 9 to 12 and 1 to 4. And you just call 271-1060 and you can talk to a Master Gardener with any of your problems or any of your questions. And they have a website that's very, very informative about all kinds of gardening information, and that's bentoncountygardening.org. And also the Bella Vista Garden Club has a great website, bellavistagardenclub.com. And we have a lot of gardening information on our website too.
Very
So it's a good time to sit and read, about gardening on your computer because you can't be outside.
The website, I don't know if they'll see that or not, but my website, also I have a couple of short blogs. They're not long blogs. I usually post once a month. And it's a gardening thought that maybe would be helpful. Some of it is about gardening on a budget.
Oh, that's a good idea.
A lot of people right now are having to be careful with their
We have to
money.
replaase a lot of plants. It's
Yes.
expensive. It
Yes.
really is. So I think your website is shown there, and they can just go to your website and find out all about your books and your blogs and so forth. And then the Garden Club New Year starts in September. Our first meeting is September 26th. We take the kind of summer off and work in our gardens. And we have our fall plant sale scheduled for Saturday, October 6th. It's going to be at the wastewater company, and we'll talk more about that next month. But I guess we'll be replacing plants in the fall and spring because we're going to be losing a lot. So, but thank you, Dawn, for coming today and sharing all this
Thank you,
wonderful
Geri.
knowledge. And
My
I
pleasure.
just love your concept, and it's something that everybody can benefit from. Really, thank you so
for
much.
having me.
And I hope you've enjoyed the program, and we'll tune in again next month. And until then, don't forget to stop and smell the roses.